Alright, I don't know if this is gonna be a vent or what, but I was on Facebook and someone posted, "Why don't people get married anymore?" And then they reposted someone commenting on that. Women, like, marriage isn't working out anymore because women will leave now if they're getting physically or emotionally abused or cheated on. And so that got reposted, and then some guys like, oh, like men never get abused or cheated on. Like, no, nobody said that, but we're talking about back in the day how people stayed married and now they don't stay married or get married in the first place, which I get that statistically people don't get married or have kids as soon now because of career choices because more women are working than they used to. But the point of the post was just to kind of touch on women's suffrage in a unique way. And the post was not funny, but it was just like, yeah, that's a good point. Like, women like are able to leave a marriage now where before like they didn't really have that choice. They like women, if they were abused or whatever, society wasn't going to stick up for them. That was just like the norm, and the norm has changed. And so it just irritates me when someone's like, they take a post that's about like women's suffrage or Black Lives Matter or LGBTQ plus, and they make it about them, or they say like, oh, well, you just think you're so perfect. Like, no, nobody said that. We're just talking about the suffering that we've had. We're not saying nobody else had suffering. This post is just specifically about our suffering. I just hate when people take a victim and they're like, oh, like someone has it worse than you, or you're not looking at what happens to the opposite person of you. So like if it's about somebody who's gay and they're like, oh, well, people who are straight have this problem too. Like, okay, but no one was talking about you. Like, if you want to go talk about your issue as a straight person or whatever, go do it. But like, stop commenting on a gay person's post saying like, oh, I have problems too. Like, nobody said you didn't. Like, if you want to talk about your problems here, go ahead. You can do that too, but don't undermine my problems. You know what I'm saying? Like, you could say, oh, yeah, I relate. As a straight person, I also relate to that. Whatever, go ahead. But, like, don't be like, oh, well, you shouldn't be talking about your suffering because other people also suffer. Like, the fuck? That's just so stupid to me. And then somebody was talking about, oh, well, I guess emotional and physical abuse is one thing, but if people are in a relationship fighting, that's normal, and you shouldn't leave a relationship just because you're fighting. And I was like, no one said that either. Literally, no one said that. But then I was thinking about what did I write? Oh, I was talking to somebody in the comments um about fighting, like, and so they were talking about fighting is like healthy and blah blah blah, but I was kind of concerned what kind of fighting they were doing, because yes, fighting is necessary for a relationship, but when you're in an argument or a debate, you need to stick to these three things that I wrote down, and that is compromising, problem solving, and agreeing to disagree. So in an argument, you first of all, if you're verbally abusing someone, which I talked about in my last video, like, that's just not healthy. It's not healthy to yell at people or swear at people or put your hands on people or manipulate people. That would be emotional abuse. Any of that, or do things that people don't want to do, or like use their body without asking, which happened a lot back in the day with husbands and wives. But anyway, so um, and I'm not saying it doesn't happen today. I was just saying, back to that post, it obviously happens today as well. But so compromising, you need, if say your boyfriend works really late, and so he comes home at like 7 p.m. every day, and you're like, how about you just come home one day a week early at 5, and we'll have dinner together in a date or something, or make Saturday and Sunday your day, or go do some fun Friday night every night, and you can compromise so that way that person gets to work late, but also took out specific time to make sure you know you're a priority. Or in another example, you could say, okay, how, like, if you have a husband or boyfriend who, or wife or girlfriend who can bring their work home occasionally, then maybe like after they, because if they're like a manager or something, you could just have them bring their work home after they close shop or whatever, and then they can, you know, sit next to you and work with you. So it's like you're not like doing something together or whatever, but at least you can sit there and like be in their presence, because sometimes people like that. So anyways, that's like a compromise. Or if you can't agree on something, you either leave if it's that big of an issue, or agree to disagree without giving ultimatums. Not like, oh, if you don't do this, I'm going to leave, because that's manipulative. You either just say, this really needs to happen, like, I just can't tolerate this anymore. And if you can't come to a compromise, if they're just totally unwilling, like say you want to go to therapy or something, and they're like, well, I'm not going to therapy, and you see therapy as a last resort, then you need to just leave and say it's not going to work out, period. If they're not willing at all to do what you need them to do in order to be healthy and happy. But yeah, so stuff you can agree to disagree on is something like, just, you know, like, I think that, like, say you care about, what's a cause you could care about? Say you care about the environment, and your boyfriend or whatever, your husband, your spouse, they are, like, they don't care about the environment as much as you do. And say that, like, I don't know, they do something, like they leave the water on longer than you do to brush their teeth. You can explain to them that they're hurting the environment and this and that, and if they choose to keep doing it, you can choose to pick your battles and let it go. You know, unless you want to just be like, forget it, I can't tolerate someone that leaves the water on that long. That's just like beyond my, like, I care about the environment too much. I care about the environment more than I care about this relationship, and this is just too much. Like, I can never, like, say like someone, like, yeah, that's a good enough example. So agreeing to disagree, that's sort of it. Or like, if you think that something is a good idea and they don't, or like you think that, like, you say that you like one presidential candidate and your spouse likes another one, you can agree to disagree on that and just not fight about it, and it's fine, or it could be fine depending, or religious things or stuff like that. So anyway, that's agreeing to disagree. Problem solving is just like, if there's an issue, you can just use effective communication skills to talk about that issue and solve the problem, instead of yelling at each other, using I feel statements like, I feel sad when you do this because it makes me feel like this. Like, I feel sad when you ignore me because it makes me feel unloved, or something like that. And then you can talk about ways that you aren't ignored, like maybe setting aside time where you know you will have undivided attention, and make sure that space is set and that you're agreeing to have a certain amount of time of communication together without any distractions. So anyway, that was a big spiel, but I just wanted to get all that off my chest. So that's it. Now I gotta go do more U of M stuff, because I was supposed to, well, I already wrote this essay, but I have to finish this essay. I have to revise it and send it, so that's what I'm about to do.